Whoa, it's gonna be 2017 before you even know it, and I still have to film my video for my favorite non-war games of 2015. Today finally I found the time, so here I am filming my video, a video in which I will tell you about the games that I played in 2015 that I enjoyed the most and that are not war games. Usually in these videos, like my favorite games I talk about games that I played in the year, not necessarily that came out in that year. It just so happens this year that the games that I played in 2015 that I enjoyed the most also came out in 2015. I think all of them are new releases. Good, it means that the good stuff is as good as the old one, maybe even better. And as usual, these videos are completely subjective. Feel free to disagree with anything and everything that I say in this video, because it is about my favorite games, not about some game that can be said to be objectively superior, because I don't even know what the parameters to base such an assessment would be. So, my favorite non-war games of 2015. Number 10, a game that I picked up at Gen Con 2015. Well, I kind of reserved it. It wasn't there yet. I reserved it and then later they sent it to me. Secrets of the Lost Tomb. It barely fits in the screen. It's a big adventure game that immediately will remind you of a lot of stuff. It has the exploring idea of many modular games where you explore places, such as the D&D board games, where you add tiles to the place as you explore it. It has an Indiana Jones theme, it has a Cthulhu theme, so that's always good. It is heavily thematic, so you have a lot of different rules and sub-rules and mini-rules and special rules and special exceptions to the special rules to cover a huge range of things that may happen, monsters that you may encounter, weapons, upgrades, companions. In that sense, there is quite a bit of bookkeeping, and it reminds me a lot of Arkham Horror and games of that kind. It's a merry trash, so when you have a merry trash, you know that there is going to be a little bit of fiddliness and a lot of theme that emerges from that fiddliness. So aside from that, which is sort of like the only dark side of this, that you have to work a little bit to keep track of all the modifiers and the special effects, it's really good. It's really good because of the narrative that it develops. It's about exploring crazy temples, doomed area, cursed, haunted ruins. It's a pretty much is a dungeon delve game with a pulp setting, plus again the horror Cthulhian thing, which is always welcome. There are very few things in life that are good without Cthulhu in it that are not better with Cthulhu in it. This is one such thing. It would be good without Cthulhu, but it does have the Lovecraftian horror in it. Exploration, adventure, it is a fully cooperative game, so it is also fully solitaire friendly in case you do not have friends around, or you don't like your friends very much, or you don't want to share the game with them, you want to keep it all for you. Whatever, the point is that's a very flexible game that you can play with other people, you can play by yourself. It is fun and exciting, and if you don't mind a little bit of bookkeeping, the good thing is that this game really works as a narrative engine. There is a lot of story, there's a lot of flavor that comes out from these crazy narratives where you're fighting against monsters, purchasing, finding upgrades, using special effects, and so on and so forth. Something important also is that a lot of work went into the terrain tiles. A lot of these modular games where you build the map as you explore it, some of the tiles are pretty bland and standard. Here every tile has some special effects, some special art, some special thing that applies to it. So definitely the environment that you explore is a huge part of the experience, not just a sort of empty stage upon which then monsters and encounters will present themselves. Really good product, really fun game. Number 10 of my favorite non-war games of 2015. Number 9, it's another big box. This one I picked up, this I did pick up, Origins 2015. And it is called Clockwork Wars. And I was surprised that since then I haven't heard much about it. I mean, this is a game that for some reason hasn't received much buzz. But it's from a good publisher, from a reputable publisher, Eagle Gryphon. It has It's very good production values, great art, all of the good things that are in games that are successful. It has a sci-fi element, a fantasy element, a steampunk element. So it's sort of like fantastic anthology of all the things that gamers like these days. It is a war game slash economic game slash civilization game. It's almost like a 4X game. Each player controls a race, a group of people that will develop, will expand, and you will try to expand your influence on a map built with these terrain hexes. You hear sort of like Settlers of Catan for civilization gamers that also like to fight. So you will expand your influence, then you will acquire special resources from the places that you occupy, and you will use that to further your placement on your technology tree, on your magic tree, so that you acquire new stuff. And also very interesting, as you're doing that on a board that has limited resources. So pretty soon people will start getting dangerously close to each other, so you have to try to take into account what other people are going to try to do, the direction in which they are more likely to expand, because people will soon start to fight. There's a very simple system of resolving combat, so it doesn't really become a war game. Again, it remains a civilization game with a fighting component, but combat is part of it. It's a pretty important element, but I would say still is an element in the recipe, and not the main element of the game. The components are really good. The miniatures look amazing. There is a high replay value thanks to the changeable map and different scenarios and different races that you can try. And even if you're just playing with the same map, with the same people, then you can simply upgrade your race in different ways from game to game, and again you will have different experiences. A lot of layers, a lot of different ways that you can use to score points and acquire various types of gains. So very nuanced, very multi-layer game that I really enjoy, and I wish it had received more love and more visibility. But to me, one of the best games of 2015, number 9 of my top non-war games video. Now we get to number 8. Versus System, a duel game, a card dueling game, where you control groups of Marvel superheroes. This is a new implementation of a card game that came out a couple of years ago, and I had already reviewed it before the new version came out. I really liked the old version. This new version is really beautiful, it's really nice, it has redone modern art, and it is as simple, linear, and intuitive as the old version, just looking better, and I think they also tweaked a couple of other things. I like the fact that here you can build your own team, and you're really playing with teams of superheroes that are very thematic. There is a lot of theme that went into it, so that you can allow the characters represented by the cards to act in similar ways, using the similar advantages to what they have in reality. Some people fly, some people have range attacks, some people only do melee. And it's a very simple game, but it does have a tactical feel to the way in which you use your characters and you place them on the table. And in particular, it is about managing the cards that come in your hand, managing your resources, and timing the upgrades that you get, and timing the placement of characters on the board. So basically you put them in the battlefield. But since cards can be used for various things, then there are a lot of decisions that play into that. So I like the hand management aspect that presents you with interesting challenges and decisions. I like the tactical combat element. I was gonna say something like I'm not much into dueling card games, just because it's a format that has been done so many times in so many ways. But from time to time there's still games that come out that I enjoy in the formula. There will be one more such game later, who knows where in the top 10, maybe pretty high, who knows, no spoilers. So there's still games in that formula that, even though it's not the formula that excites me the most, then I'm still happy to play. When I play them, I still enjoy them. I like Marvel superheroes, I like superheroes in general, so I think that this is a game that is very thematic, it has a lot of interesting decisions, it looks good, a lot of replay value, simply due to the fact that you can play with different teams, and it comes with a good number of pre-designed decks. To me, that's very important. I'm not a big fan of meta gaming. I don't like so much to spend 2 hours to build a deck for a game that then lasts 20 minutes. And if I build my deck perfectly, I spend 2 hours to build a deck that makes me win in 5 minutes. For some people, that is the best thing that there is. To me, that's worse than losing, because I won the game, but I killed the game. I deprived myself of the joy of playing the game to have the joy of winning the game. To me, that's not a good deal. So in this game, if you're the kind of meta gamer that likes to design unbeatable, tricky decks, go ahead, you can do that with this set. You're just not gonna play with me. I'm not gonna play with you. But as is, the game also comes with enough pre-designed, pre-made decks to make it possible for you to play just with those for a long time. To me, when it comes to card games, having that option of not to have to worry about making your deck, simply assign a pre-made deck to players and you can start play, is a huge option. To me, actually, that's a major element that makes card games interesting. A very original game that also is not one of the most famous games of 2015, but I really enjoyed it. Super Motherload. I know, that looks like it's misspelled, but it's a pun. It's a very interesting game. It's inspired by a video game, and it has kind of the flavor of a 2D video game. And it has very interesting mechanics, or combination of different mechanics, because you have a deck building element and a strong spatial board-based element, which is not something that you see very often when it comes to deck builders. Here you, as a player, you're controlling a mining company on a distant planet, distant asteroid, so you're trying to go and drill this alien surface, looking for resources. I wanted to show it to you. The board looks like this, and actually there are multiple boards, so that as you start drilling, and you go down, then later you will add further layers and you will move this, and then at some point the top will be not available, and then you will add the further layer. So the deeper you go, the more profitable stuff you have. So you will be digging tunnels, expanding your tree of tunnels, and of course different terrain areas will have different effects. Some will require specific types of drill to go through, some you will have to explode, but there is also profitable stuff that you're looking for, gems and other things, and this is what you're trying to acquire. You're trying to get to the good stuff. So you score points by collecting good materials, but in order to be able to drill, you will use a deck building engine. So you're purchasing cards that will go in your deck, and then will randomly come out and will provide you with different abilities to perforate the surface in different types of surface, and then also other kinds of advantages. I like it. I think it's a very fresh, original, smart design with pretty nice components. Again, I'm surprised it didn't get more buzz, if nothing else, because it's so original, because it combines deck building with this very fun, simple, but very intuitive spatial idea of building and expanding a tree of tunnels to reach the resources. It's fun and fresh design. I wish it received more love. I hope this video will bring it back on people's radar, or simply on people's radars for the first time. Super Motherload. It's a fun deck building game of space drilling, and really enjoyable. And it is number 6 of my top 10 for non-Wargames of 2015. Now, was that? No, that was number 7, because this is number 6. Number 6 Interesting enough, it is the only game in this batch of 10 games that I have not reviewed. I played it because it's here and I enjoyed it very much. I don't know how is it that I forgot to review it, so there isn't a video about this. If you're interested, I'll make one, let me know. Number 6 is Spyfall. I played this game first at Origin 2015. I liked it very much. People were crazy about this game. It was completely sold out, so I had to wait until later to buy my own copy. Maybe that's why then I forgot. Once the game arrived, I forgot to review it. It's a fairly abstract game. It is supposed to have a spy theme, but the theme doesn't make much sense any way you want to put it. It's a social game, party game, conversation game type of place. Each player receives a card from a deck describing a location, say the beach or a polar base or a club or an embassy. Each player receives a card with that location, with the exception of one player that receives the card of the spy. I guess maybe it's that these spies completed a mission in that location, now they're talking to each other on Skype, so they're talking about the location, but you're not in that location. The point is that the spy that receives the card that says you're the spy, well, there's an illustration that shows you a spy, doesn't know what the location on everybody else's card is. The spy is trying to figure out what the location is. So the way the game works is that one person starts and asks somebody else a question like, which implies something about the location, like, so how is the weather? And if you're in the polar base, that a person who knows that you're in the polar base will maybe say, oh, it's pretty cold today. The person that answers a question that asks a question to another person say, so what are we gonna do tonight? And maybe the person in a polar base, what are you doing in the evening, at night in there? Maybe we're gonna watch a movie. We're not likely going for a walk outside or make a snowman. I don't know, maybe make a snowman. So one of the things is that you can answer whatever you want, including completely random, inappropriate, not sexual, but I guess you could do that, but inappropriate answers in the sense that answers have nothing to do with the question or with the location. You can say and ask whatever you want. The people that know what the location is are trying to ferret out the spies, and the spies trying to figure out what the location is. This is very important because this is why when the people with the location, with knowledge of the location, are asking questions and answering questions, they're trying to come up with things that are vague enough that they do not give too much information to the spy, and yet precise enough that other people know, oh, he or she knows the location. Because if the answer is too much out there, is too unrelated to the question, then your own companions may think that actually you're the spy. So there are some very interesting conceptual, social, lateral thinking type of ideas that float around this game. Finding just the right question that allows you to identify your companions but does not give up the location, or as a spy try to pretend that you know the location. When you kind of try to get a sense where it may be, then if they ask you a question you try to be vague or general. It's really fun, it's really subtle, there will be a lot of laughter going on because it's fun, it can be hilarious. Also, there's a way of playing the game where you have special roles, so you not only do you have the location, but you also have the roles. So you have to answer not just as somebody who lives in this, who is in that location, but also as the person that is described there. Say it's the embassy, maybe you are a diplomat, maybe you're a secretary, maybe you are the guard that stands outside. Different types of things that will make things even more complicated and trickier. So it's fun, it's a social game, it's one of those social games that you have to play to realize how fun and enjoyable it is. Describing it from the rules won't really give you an idea, but it's absolutely hilarious, fun, and just, I loved every minute. Even though as a spy I'm absolutely terrible. I'm much better as one of the people that knows the location. Number 5, look at this. This is another dueling card game, and maybe not the last dueling card game that we'll talk about today. It's a Game of Thrones, the card game, 2nd edition. by Fantasy Flight Games. The cards look great. The theme is one that we all love, which is the Song of Ice and Fire. And they call it Games of Thrones because, you know, TV show. Game of intrigue, betrayal, and epic battles. This is a game where you play with decks that, just like in the versus system, can be pre-made, and you can use those and simply stick to a combination of different families. There are decks that represent the families or the clans or groups of people, affiliated people in the universe of A Song of Ice and Fire, for example, the Night Watch, and you combine them to create an alliance, and your alliance will fight, represented by a deck, will fight against an alliance represented by other decks. And I like the fact that in this game you have many different characters, many different elements that come from the original franchise, but from the original novels, and they capture the theme. Strangely enough, there is really a what-if feeling that allows you to have combinations of events that did not really happen in the novels, maybe in the TV show, but I don't watch that kind of stuff. I'm a bit of a book snob that way. So it allows you to have situations like Robert Baratheon being around where and when he should be, based on the original story. But these what-if situations somehow make sense. They don't feel too preposterous. They don't look like you have, say, in some other deck-building games where you have Superman driving the Batmobile and using Aquaman's trident. Those games look ridiculous. Here somehow it works. Maybe because there is this idea in the original stories of strange, unexpected alliance, people coming to help each other and cooperating in unexpected ways as a result of some completely counterintuitive scheming that went on behind the scenes. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it does work. Thematically, it doesn't offend me. Mechanically, this is a game that allows you to deploy a lot of different people, and you have to find a good combination between people that you will use to defend and people that you will use to attack, because once you use them one way or the other, they are committed for a while before you can refresh them. Challenges, there are challenges, in this sense there is a specific mechanism that you launch, forcing the opponent to respond to those challenges. You need to be able to respond to a variety of challenges from various directions. It's just a very nice multi-layered card game that has a great theme that everybody loves, has great art, and is mechanically very sound and very engaging. Game of Thrones, the card game, second edition, number 5 of my top non-war games of 2015. Number 4, we are moving towards the top. Elysium. Elysium, a game that I played and picked up at Origins 2015. A beautiful game, again, component-wise. This is a game that is astounding. The theme is, Greek mythology. You are putting together combinations of heroes that will perform tasks for you and will gain dominance over the land, or at least over other players, or at least over the score that other players are scoring. You will score more. It's a fairly abstract game that has a Greek mythology element to it. I don't know that you will learn much about mythology from this game, or that you will get much of a sense of an epic poem, but it's fun and excellent. I mean, who cares? From time to time, I'm okay if the theme is not too strong, but I have to show you a list, the presentation. This has to be one of the best presentations that I've seen in a while. You see how it looks like a Greek temple? This part here being actually a layer, an organizer that you use in the game. The base of the temple, again, being a tracker that you use in the game. The slots for the cards pretending to be the columns. I'm not putting it more vertical because I have some components here that are gonna fall off. And this is a game of limited resources with a huge, very tough and challenging timing element. It's not just about purchasing stuff that then you use to accomplish tasks, that it is about that. But what really makes it stand out to me and makes it interesting and exciting is that there's this timing element. Everybody's trying to grab the same resources in a limited pool of resources. The resources that you're getting, of course, commit you, both because then if you get A, then I have to wait until everybody gets something before it gets back to me, and I get a chance of getting something. So if there are 2 cards that I want, I need to choose one because I may not be able to get the other one. This is pretty standard. On top of that, simply the currency that you use is these points that are represented by these columns that you place on this track. And so different colors allow you to buy different combinations of cards. So it is not just about I want to buy stuff that I need now before the people get them. It's also if I buy that card, then I'm spending that specific resource. I'm spending that specific resource and I won't be able to buy something else. Which is more interesting to me that if you have a simple currency, a single currency, say gold, you can always buy anything and everything as long as you have enough gold. Here you need to have the right thing and the right combination of things. So if I get something, even if other players don't get what I want, I'm simply locking myself out of the option of getting that other special card that we'll need later. This also means that the players may look at what I'm doing, may look at what I still have. Oh, he still has red and blue. That means if I get that other card that he could play, that he could buy, then there's nothing else interesting that he can buy when the game goes back to him or her. It's a very simple idea, but to me really makes this game very subtle and full of very interesting unspoken indirect interactions. This is not a game where there's a lot of direct interactions, but if I really figure out what you're trying to do and I figure out a way of pursuing my own interests while leaving cards on the table that you cannot buy because of the combination of resources that you have, not just because I took them away, then I'm playing very effectively. So there is, if you're able to have that extra element of seeing what other people are doing, of being in for the long game, then you're playing effectively. And either way, this game is very fun because it has that element. I find it to be very sophisticated without being over complex. Elysium, I really enjoyed it. It's one of the games with the best presentation that I've seen in a long time. Absolutely fun to play. Subtler and deeper than it looks at first. It's not just buy A so that then you can use that to score points. It is that plus a lot of psychology and indirect interaction. I like that. Number 3. Another game that I picked up at Origins 2015. Look at that. That really was a good convention. I really played and picked up a lot of good stuff. The Voyages of Marco Polo by Z-Man. A game inspired by the journeys to Asia of the famous Venetian explorer Marco Polo, but frankly, again, I don't really learn much about Italian history or history of journeys in the Middle Ages. It is a game that is pretty abstract in nature, but it is complex with a lot of interesting decisions. It is a dice game, basically, or at least it has a dice engine. Each turn you roll a bunch of dice to see what kind of resources you can get. Because once you have your results, you're seeing the result of the rolls, then you can spend the dice to reserve actions on the board. The board is divided in a map area where you will move your pawn and you will set up shop in various areas of Asia. You will score points by traveling certain routes, acquiring certain resources. So there's a special component. You need to get to a place to acquire a resource. And then you have the bottom of the board, which is where you have several areas where you reserve actions. So by placing your dice in specific locations on the board, you are reserving the action connected to that, which can be from traveling to acquiring resources. Simply put them in your pool, acquiring upgrades, then you trade your resources to buy other stuff. You're trying to complete contracts. The contracts come out of various decks and they change. They represent things that people want. So when you have found around Asia the resources that would meet the conditions of a contract, then you're able to complete the contract and cash in from it. So what do we have here? Again, the Euro game idea, you buy something so that then you invest it to buy something more and make more money. But this works mechanically through first decisions that you make by assigning randomly generated resources, which are the results of the dice, and I really like that, so it doesn't become too mechanical, it does not become algorithmic because you don't know exactly what you're gonna get. To me, randomness is always good in games, at least an element of it. So you have that element of assigning resources that are randomly generated. You do that in an environment that is connected to a spatial environment with a little bit of a race game elements because, again, the board is not neutral. The resources that are available there depends on where players go and which of the players consume certain resources before you got there. So there is that element. So everything is very interactive, a lot of different levels of decisions. Each turn I found that there were a lot of things that I could do. Not all equally interesting or profitable, but I never found that there was a turn where there was nothing interesting I could do. My dilemma when playing the game was always about many things that I wanted to do. To me, that is always a sign of a good game. The one that where the problem that you have is too many things you want to do. That's great. That's usually great. A game that I enjoyed a lot. Definitely fun, engaging, immersive, a lot of thinking going on, but not to the level of giving you a headache. Thinking about strategy, not thinking about filler rules. Very good thing. Number 3, bronze medal in my personal top 10 non-war games of 2015, The Voyages of Marco Polo by Seaman. Silver medal! Played it not long ago, enjoyed it enormously. My second favorite non-war game of 2015. Orleans came out earlier this year or in 2015 or the previous year. Then it was out, it sold out, and then it was reprinted again, so this is the reprint. And I enjoyed this oh so much. And I have to tell you, I was a little bit torn between these two games, which one would get silver and which one would get bronze, because there are so many things that they have in common. Similarly to Voyages of Marco Polo, here you have a board with a spatial element where you travel around to acquire resources, and then you have randomly generated resources, which in Marco Polo come from dice, here come from a bag where you will place your workers. You acquire tokens with certain types of workers that can do certain things for you. You put them in a bag and then you take them out randomly with a lot of ways of affecting how many you can draw from there, which ones go in there, which ones stay out, which allows you, if you play on the ones that stay out, to manipulate the odds of getting certain other ones that you really want. So that one is kind of like a dice game for Eurogamer, a dice game with a board for Eurogamers. This is bingo for Eurogamers. But it's good. I mean, heck, if the real bingo was this fun, I would play the regular bingo a little more often. So here you have an engine that does revolve around getting random people, and it does revolve therefore about around maximizing your odds, building a technology tree, as you are in fact purchasing these people, getting them out of the bag, and then using them to perform tasks for you. So you also have your own personal board where you will place the workers that will trigger certain effects before they go back in the bag. You may also purchase other tiles that you use to expand your board, so basically giving you more options of actions to do. So this is not just a game which is about a list of, say, 10 actions that you can perform by filling in the slot with the workers that you get out of the bag. Is actually about a range of options that is not fixed, because you may purchase actions that then later you may trigger with your workers. A lot of variety, a lot of ways of scoring points, from grabbing resources on the board to simply using certain combinations that directly give you points. A lot of stuff that you can do. You also have almost like this technology tree civilization aspect that you have by using certain combinations, acquiring certain types of workers. Not only do you get resources that get in your bag, but you also advance on these trees here, again, of technology, let's call them that way. They give you certain advantages. Oh my gosh, so fun. I like the enormous, astounding variety of options that you have, all the incredible things that you can do. Good. Words almost fail me. Almost. So, it's good. Orleans by TMG. Bingo element, random element, together with spatial, investment, worker placement, and technology development elements. A blend of many things, but a delicious smoothie of game mechanics. Fun stuff. Now, I said earlier that there would be more dueling card games in my top 10, and we have a dueling card game in position number 1, no less. And my favorite non-war game for 2015 is Ashes. Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn. Here. Ta-da! Excellent game, and one that when I saw it, first I was like, whoa, the art, whoa, the amazing art. The art is absolutely astounding. The cover also gives you a sense. This art is way above average of fantasy art that you find these days. After I was astounded by the art and I started learning about it, I was like, oh, okay, here we are again. It's not like we have never seen this before. It's a dueling game. You have your own character that summons minions. You're sort of like a mage or a wizard or magic user. You summon minions, you send them to kill the other big magic user going past their minions. I did that, I played that in several of the good games this year, like the Versus system, and I played this so many times in my life that again I was like, oh, here we go again, Magic the Gathering much? Was I wrong? Yes, I was horribly wrong, because the general idea is there, but again, that general idea is like chicken. Chicken can be cooked in so many different ways. Knowing that a dish has chicken in it still doesn't tell you anything about it. Should be more open-minded about dueling card games. This year only I play some astounding ones. This is great because it takes that old chicken meat, that old component, that old ingredients that we have seen so many times, and it does delicious, innovative things with it. And it does that, to me, the key that really changes the experience is by pairing the card game element. Yes, you have a deck of cards, the minions come out of there, you're using resources to deploy your minions, and then you send them to attack. It does that by pairing that element, the card element, with a dice element. So you do have, yes, your good old traditional, again, deck of minions and other game effects, but you also have dice that you roll to generate effects, and so you will be able to unlock effects by spending those dice. And of course, then you can acquire new spells, you can acquire ways of manipulating your dice pool. It's well, I guess I really like dice where games where you roll the dice and then you assign things. Here, in Voyages of Marco Polo, you do that to invest in stuff. Here you get it to invest in fighters, in defensive spells, in attacks. And what is really great, so the mechanics are, to me, very fresh. They feel new, they feel innovative, they feel super solid and very fluid, very smooth. Again, each turn you have so many things that you can do, so many things that you will want to do. And if you find yourself stuck, this is probably a case where you can blame yourself for not foreseeing things and not planning your upgrades and your next steps well, because usually you should be able to do a lot of stuff. So the general idea is great. What is really great is what has been done here with the characters that are also very interesting. These magic users with their families of minions and fighters. They play very differently from one another. I don't know how balanced they are. I haven't played it systematic with all characters versus all characters. In my experience, they feel pretty balanced, if some of them a little harder to figure out at first, but once you figure out some of the less intuitive ones, it seems to me that those also are pretty effective. They play in very different ways, again, with weaknesses and strengths. So it's fun to get to know to these people. These characters fit very different styles of gameplay, so they should please very different type of gamers. And oh gosh, between different decks and combinations of icons that you get from the dice, just a lot of variety of gameplay. While the basic idea remains: roll the dice, use the dice to acquire resources, to trigger effects, to play minions. And again, similar to what happens in other games, like for example in Game of Thrones, you had to time things so that you can attack the opponent without finding yourself devoid of minions that are ready to defend against the opponent. So the back and forth, again, yes, the idea maybe slaughter everybody, weaken the opponent until the opponent is devoid of defenses, and then inflict a hit, and then try not to get one in return, so try not to spend everything you have in that hit, and repeat until one of the two players goes down to 0 points with their main character. So there is the back and forth, but it is done well. It doesn't feel mechanical, it doesn't feel repetitive like you have in other games. I hit you once, you hit me once, I hit you once, you hit me once. Oh. It's more dynamic, it's exciting because of all the steps that you need to take to be able to inflict that hit, because of all the combos that you can figure out. And you still need, even when you figure out the combo, again, it doesn't become algorithmic simply, it doesn't become mechanical, because you also need to get the right dice. So it's about grabbing the opportunity that the cards and the dice give you at any given moment to be able to inflict that hit, again preventing the opponent from doing too much damage to you. I like that catch the flea moment aspect of it that card games and dice game usually have. This game has both aspects, and so really it has that sense of temporal fluctuation, of opportunities that open and close, and of an evolving landscape, which also includes the actions that the opponent is taking, the army of bad guys that the opponent is bringing out there and that you have to worry about. It's highly interactive. It has a lot of variation in it. The art is great. I also like the fact that it has female characters. To me, this is very important. Female characters do not look to be just as eye candy. They are there as interesting, strong women that are simply there to do their thing, to participate to the action. Heck, the most successful movie in Hollywood history so far is Star Wars Episode 7, that has a young woman as a protagonist. So it is time that Hollywood producers, game producers wake up, and they give us games and they give us products with strong, independent, interesting women in them, because we are ready. We are ready. Nobody boycotted Star Wars Episode 7. Nobody thought it was weaker because of that. Everybody enjoyed it. And to me, games that do that also give us the option to play with strong, independent, interesting women as characters, are great. They have an extra value because of course, they are more inclusive thanks to the identification that they can allow to women players, and are simply good for male players too, because heck, we also need to develop more empathy. There is nothing wrong with developing the kind of empathy and getting in this idea that you can play with a strong female character, and that is totally cool too and totally fine too. Ashes, on top of everything, all of the good mechanical things, on top of having great art, it also has that element of gender, which is important to me and that I appreciate very much. Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn, my favorite non-war game of 2015. Also, the game will be expanded. Probably it has already been expanded. I haven't followed exactly what happened there because I had so much fun playing the original set. I don't even know that I will need an expansion anytime soon, which is great. It's a game that is not just a starter set. We give you a sense so that you get hooked and then you spend a ton of money in expansions. You can do that, but as is, what you have in that box is a perfectly solid game that you can play with and be happy with for a long time. Such a great game. Thank you! Thank you all. Let me hug you ideally, my viewers. Thank you for watching my videos in 2015. Thank you for watching this specific video. I really appreciate your support. I really appreciate your feedback. Please keep watching. Please keep commenting on my videos. And on this side of the camera, what I will do in return is I'll keep playing and I'll keep sharing my ideas and opinions with you in my videos. I hope your 2015 was a great year of gaming, and I hope that 2016 will be even better. As for me, for what I'll do next and what I'll play next, stay tuned, and well, you'll see it soon enough in my next videos. For now, ciao, and again, happy 2016.